嗨，大家欢迎收看今天的影片。
Hello! Today we're going to look at 5 surprising facts about the UK. So for anyone who saw our last video, apologies about that.
Yes, our last video was an April Fool's joke. None of the facts in that video were actually true, but it gave us an idea. And the idea is, in this week's video, we're going to share 5 surprising facts about the UK
that are real. Surprising fact number 1.
Did you know that there is an annual competition in Gloucestershire called the Cheese Rolling Competition of Cooper's Hill?
Where a giant wheel of cheese is rolled down an incredibly steep hill and a whole group of contestants or competitors chase after it.
Yep, and the first person to catch the cheese is the winner. And what do they win?
Cheese.
The cheese, yeah, about 3 to 4 kilos of double Gloucester cheese. Now, this cheese can reach about 70 miles per hour on its way down the hill because it's so steep. And the people following,
Straight down. You have to watch it to believe it, but they get 2 or 3 strides in and then just face plant the floor.
Yeah.
And there are so many injuries.
Yeah, they have to have ambulances standing by ready to treat all the injured people as they roll their way down the hill after the cheese.
Surprising fact number 2.
So while you might have heard that people in the UK, how shall we say, like a drink?
I would say that's very diplomatic.
Yeah, like to get a little bit drunk.
A little bit tipsy.
Yeah. Technically, under Section 12 of the Licensing Act of 1872, every person found drunk on any licensed premises shall be liable to a penalty.
So it is technically illegal to be drunk in a pub or a bar which are specifically designed for you to go and have an alcoholic drink. I didn't know that, though.
I didn't know that.
I can't believe that.
And that's not the only interesting legal question about being drunk in the UK as well. For example, did you know that it is illegal to be in charge of a cow whilst drunk? The interesting things you find out when researching UK law.
That's not true.
That is true. The list also includes horses and loaded firearms.
But a cow? How many people are rocking around with a cow? Surprising fact number 3. When you think of sparkling wine, you would be forgiven for immediately thinking of champagne.
Which can only be made in Champagne.
Absolutely. However, sparkling wine was actually invented 30 years before by an English scientist in 1662.
This man was called Christopher Merritt, and he was also the first person to actually use the term sparkling wine. Mm-hmm. He was the person who gave us this idea of using the word sparkling to describe fizzy wine.
And thank goodness he did, because we're not allowed to call it champagne. Surprising fact number 4.
Did you know that all wild, unmarked, mute swans are technically the property of the monarch in this country?
Why?
It's a good question, and I don't have the answer. You'd have to ask King Charles.
What would you do with the swan? Like, what?
Well, I think originally this is from a time when people used to eat swan, and it was a royal bird, so only the king or queen was allowed to eat swan. Mm-hmm. And it's not just swans either. Swans is the one that people have heard of.
I've heard of that one.
But also, technically, all whales and sturgeon that wash up on British coastlines are also the property of the monarch. They are known as royal fish. Unhand your sturgeon in the name of the king.
Surprising fact number 5.
And this one isn't so much a simple fact as just a state of the country currently.
We're weird.
Yeah. So
makes no sense.
Britain technically adopted the metric system in 1965. We switched from imperial measures to metric measures.
We don't like to jump into anything too quickly because we may change our minds and decide that actually what we had was fine. So we're still kind of dipping our toe into metric.
There's certain things that I would say the majority of British people would use imperial for.
Yes.
And they are...
Milk,
beer. Personal height and weight. People still think of themselves as being 5 foot whatever or 6 foot whatever.
And weighing babies.
Yeah.
Just to...
And weight's a really weird one because we don't even measure ourselves in pounds.
No.
We measure ourselves in stone, which is something even the Americans aren't familiar with.
I didn't realise that Americans didn't do that.
No, they measure themselves entirely in pounds. They don't use stone at all.
That's why when somebody says, I'm 100 and something pounds, I'm like...
And we have no idea what that means because we measure ourselves in stone.
That's cool.
Yeah.
If you were to go to a pub and you order...
A pint?
A pint of beer, it comes in a pint glass and it is measured in pints or half pints. But if you were to order spirits or wine, they're in mils. So in the same place, measuring alcohol, liquid, the same thing, we use both at the same time.
Yeah.
But I've never really questioned it before.
No, it's one of those things that you just get used to as a British person.
Yeah. If you haven't seen our last video, the April Fool's video, please go and check that out.
Yeah. They are 5 not true facts about Britain.
But these ones are real.
These
all of
ones
them.
are genuinely true.
We promise.